This is the terrarium that I was using to propagate my plants for some of my other builds, but I think I'd like to do something different with it today. I started by pulling out all of the moss. Before, I had put plants in here without any real regard to positioning or aesthetics. I was just trying to make things grow. So this time I'm going to try to make something that looks a lot more aesthetically pleasing. I picked all the moss out from between the plants and placed it in a container that I could close so that it wouldn't dry out. With the moss removed, it was time to start uprooting the plants. I did this by gently reaching underneath the plant and lifting it out. Some of these plants had split and divided themselves over time already, which was the point of the propagation tank to begin with. So I took this opportunity to further divide my plants and increase their number. I carefully went through the whole tank and removed all of the plants. This is a 75-gallon aquarium that I've had for several years now, and I've used it for a few different projects over that time, but I think I finally know what I want this tank to become. I took this opportunity to inspect the roots of the plants as well. Very often, symptoms of disease can be visible on the roots, but as long as the plant is in the ground, it's hard to see. So this gave me a chance to really see those roots and look for any signs of diseases. Once I had all the plants out of the tank, I put them all into plastic totes. That way they'll stay humid and they won't dry out. I needed a lot more soil for this build, so I started with 3 bricks of cocoa coir, or cocoa peat. This stuff expands like crazy when you add water to it. In addition to the cocoa coir, I also added sphagnum moss to the mix, as well as composted cow manure and pine bark pieces. As I said, I needed a lot more soil for this build. Since I didn't have a container big enough, I decided to mix my components in the tank itself. Next up was the Hardscape. For this, I went to a local landscape stone supplier and bought several cool looking rocks. These rocks were generally way too big to use, so with a masonry chisel and a hammer, I split them into pieces that were much smaller, and I tried to get a variety of sizes to fit different spots of the build. My goals for this build was to get a good sense of depth and perspective, so I'm trying to arrange the landscape with a lot of contours and a lot of texture. Once I finished placing the rocks, I sprayed down the glass to clear it up before moving on to planting. Create a sense of depth, I decided to try to place the plants with smaller leaves in the back and the plants with larger leaves in the front. This is one of the reasons I have such a steeply sloping background. This tank also incorporates a fogger with a 1-gallon reservoir that'll generate a nice cloud of mist to keep the humidity up. As the air humidity rises to saturation, the fog forms a cloud that fills the entire tank. This is the completed cloud forest tank. I think it looks amazing, and I think it'll look even better as the plants grow in over time.